NFL football is back.
Yeah, keep that down, would you, Shazier? You know you're in Pittsburgh. Not the greatest subject, pro football right now. You know what, though? Let's put a frown and turn it upside down, because on the show today, it's Patrick Peterson, new Pittsburgh Steeler.
Hey, one thing about football, you get a week to soak it in, but you get to play another one the next week. Plus, the Jets lost their quarterback. Can they be a contender without one?
And, of course, you can't talk pigskin right now without getting into Coach Prime, his son, and the Colorado Buffaloes taking college football by storm.
From Wondery, I'm Ryan Shazier.
And I'm Dave Damashek.
And this is Don't Call It a Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.
Hey, Shek, I know Patrick Peterson is here today, but before we get to that, we got to talk about what went down this weekend.
Yeah, let's do it. And by the way, quick plug for everybody. Last week, we had Jason Kelsey on the show. We're on a real roll here with pro football underway. Go back and check that one out. But to your point, the Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Prime proved that their week one upset over TCU was no fluke. They also took down Nebraska by 22 in an impressive ball game and have officially made a statement to the rest of college football.
I don't think I stumbled or stuttered when I told you we were coming.
Deion's taken CU from the bottom of the Pac-12 at 1-11 back to national relevancy in a matter of months. Shazier, you've had a lot of coaches. What is Deion doing that's working so well so far?
To me, what I think Deion is doing is that one of the biggest things that a coach needs to do is make sure that his players understand what they're doing. They're playing fast, but also, especially in college, the coach and the guys understand that they coach believe in them, they trust in them, and that he knows that they can do what they need to do. A lot of coaches in college, you know, they have a scheme, they have a system that they feel that they can fit any guy in, any personnel in, and it's their system. The one thing that Deion is doing a really good job of in Colorado is he's showing the guys that he cares, but he also showing them from his standpoint of being a player what he needs to do and what they need to do to get to the next level. So it's very fun playing for somebody that's also played professionally, also was a wonderful college player as well, but then comes back and show that father figure to them and show that, hey, even if you don't play well, I still care. But then has that swagger that every player likes, that, you know, when they want to feel good, they play good, and when they play good, I mean, they look good, they feel good, and they feel good, they play good. And Deion, he has that type of appetite. And a lot of coaches that didn't play the game, they don't really understand those type of things.
I hear you, and obviously Prime cuts a very different physical figure than, let's say, Nick Saban does. But, you know, I don't buy into what Deion's trying to do. Obviously, every team over the last quarter century loves to talk about, no one believes in us. Feels like everyone believes. And Deion keeps talking about that the Buffs now have a lot of haters. I don't think that's true, although I do bet that his peers are now frustrated by the new standard that he set there in Colorado. It's usually, I need 3 years, 5 years to turn this program around. He did it overnight. I mean, he did it in one off season. It's remarkable stuff. Imagine being a Nebraska fan right now. You spend big dollars to get Matt Rule. That feels outmoded after they got whipped by Deion's Buffaloes. Remarkable stuff. That much is for sure.
Yeah, with Deion, you know, I know his contemporaries are maybe upset with just how he's handling things, how he decided to run his program. But that's the one thing that's wonderful about the transfer portal. So Deion did a really good job when he was at Jackson, getting guys to recruit there and go there. And he won in Jackson. And now he's with the transfer portal, he's allowed to get guys that aren't as successful in the college that they were at, but they might be successful and just want to come play for Deion. And I know that makes it a little bit difficult for other coaches when it comes to recruiting and handling those type of things. But Deion, I can see where he's coming from. You know, Colorado last year had one win. Vegas, well, and everybody knows Vegas kind of knows normally right. They had them pegged at 3 to 4 wins this season, and they're already halfway there. So for him, he's saying, hey, nobody believes in us. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I believe in Deion. I believe in everything that he can do. But a lot of us are from Missouri. They're from the show me state. They want to see, hey, you guys talk the talk, can you walk the walk? And I see a lot of people are starting to see that they can walk the walk, and they're going to start getting more and more believers. But when they first played TCU, there wasn't a lot of people that believed in them, and a lot of people expected this greatness out of them right now. And that's why Deion continued to say, hey, they didn't believe in us. And now he's seeing a bunch of people jump on the bandwagon. And every team that's doing well, their bandwagon is always open for new fans. But they always appreciate the ones that were there from day one. And that's the ones that he appreciates.
Just a point of clarification, you're only spiritually from the Show Me State. You're actually from the Sunshine State and now live in Pittsburgh with a detour to Ohio, and you root for the San Antonio Spurs. I just want the audience to keep up to speed. And while we're doing regional stuff, one of the great college cornerbacks I've ever seen from LSU, Patrick Peterson, coming up next.
Don't call it a comeback.
All right, Shek, let's get into this Pat Pete comeback.
Let's do it. 5-0. The Steelers now 0-1 after what happened in Acrisure last Sunday against the mighty San Francisco 49ers. Nevertheless, the Steelers have enjoyed 17 seasons of winning ball under Mike Tomlin. Last year wasn't quite up to the usual standards, so this offseason they brought in Patrick Peterson to shore up the defense on the perimeter. After an injury-riddled first year in Minnesota, the All-Pro corner bounced back in a big way in 2022.
Allen steps up and throws an interception. Patrick Peterson, and in this heavyweight bout, the Vikings with the knockout blow.
For more on how the Steelers' newest DB fits into their comeback plans for this season, we've got the man himself, Pat Pete. Welcome to Don't Call It a Comeback. How are you?
So, Pat, man, first of all, I just want to say thank you for joining the show. Secondly, man, you in Pittsburgh, so I'm really excited to see you in the Berg, man. I know you and your cousin B-Mac, y'all got y'all All Things Covered podcast talking about the Berg and everything that's going on. So I want to ask you, what made you choose Pittsburgh this offseason?
Man, good question, Ryan. I always wanted to be a part of this great storied organization, man, because being around my cousin, I watched him get drafted here, watch him play in 3 Super Bowls, win 2. And I just saw the brotherhood and how they ran things. And I was like, man, if I ever become, a free agent or whatever, because, obviously being drafted by Arizona, I knew it was a slim possibility of getting drafted there because they're always so doggone good in the playoffs. So they always got a 24 through the 32nd pick, So I knew I wouldn't be there. So my next opportunity would be throughout free agency. And, I wanted to come here my first go around in free agency because Grady Brown, who actually has the whole defensive back room. I think he was like a assistant or a GA type, coach at the time. And it just didn't work out. And then full circle, now he has the room to himself. And now finally a Pittsburgh Steelers. So it's an honor. It's a blessing. And, man, it's just a joy to finally be a part of this team.
So you actually hit 2 points I was about to ask you, and I'm gonna go with the first one. So with B-Mac being, a Steeler, playing in 3 Super Bowls, you used to come to practice with him sometime. Do you remember that in when he got drafted in 2005 when you used to come around?
Man, it was just how – yeah, I do remember that. It was just how close-knit the group was. Not only the group, just the team. Like, it wasn't a minute that those guys was not around each other. That's how much they just enjoyed each other's company. And not only enjoying each other's company, but also finding ways to help that person better, to get a leg up on the opponent they're about to play. And, when I saw that, I was like, man, this is so cool to see this because, at the time I was in high school, so I didn't know how the college ran, practices because I'd never seen a college practice before. My first big time practice was, a pro practice. So I was like, man, that's how they do it. This how they conduct their business, in the league as grown men. But because you think, in the league, you got 20, from age range from 21 to 30 something, guys got to have their own agenda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guys ain't trying to hang out, after practice or, before a game. Guys have families and things that they may need attention. But what made it so unique, the guys were saying, man, like, this is our time together. We only got this one opportunity. So we got to make the best of it. And that was just a piece that made the process that much better.
No, that's dope, man, because it's like you actually, so with my dad, he was the chaplain of the Dolphins. So I actually used to get to watch him, be around the team. But the Dolphins, when we was growing up, they weren't winning much, man. So it was but it was just kind of cool just to be around the environment. But like for you to come and just see the Steelers as they winning championships and to be around the team and the type of chemistry they had, I think that's pretty awesome. So I'm actually going to go back to the other point where you said like you first wanted to come to the Steelers, but then you end up going somewhere else. So the show is called Don't Call It a Comeback. And you was part of one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history. Not part of, but you was part of one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history. Can you tell me like what that was like in the moment of like that whole game, bro? Because like that was crazy watching that.
Man, Ryan, crazy thing about that game, like we playing the coach, and no disrespect to the coach. We knew we was better than that.
Yeah.
Man, it ain't no ifs and buts about it. We knew we was better top to bottom than the Indianapolis coach. We knew also that we was going to get their best shot because if you go back, it was Jeff Saturday's second game.
Yeah.
He just came off a tough loss against the Las Vegas Raiders. So we knew we was going to get their best shot. And as that game was going on, we literally was beating ourselves. If you go back and we was shooting ourselves in the foot, giving up costly touchdowns, turning the ball over on offense, got a block punt on the punt team. So the first half was just all that disarray. So we get in the locker room, and like I said, going back, like we knew who was better than the coach. We didn't care what the score was. We knew all we had to do was play our football, which was being good on third downs, getting to the quarterback and creating turnovers. So when we get in the locker room, man, nobody's stressing, nobody, and at the same time, too, Ryan, this is for the to become the division champs.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of at stake right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So we get in the locker room. It's like, man, coach, coach. When we first get in the locker room, everybody's just he let everybody catch their breath. So then we come up as a defense, go about our adjustments. But our defensive coordinator, man, Ed Donatel, he's probably the coolest, like under pressure, meaning his demeanor that I've ever been around. So he don't curse, he don't yell. All he do is just smile, literally, right?
Yeah.
So we we on the canvas right now. We knocked out. We were trying to find a way to get back up. He come back in there and he said, guys, we've been here before, man. I was like, I don't think we've been here before.
Right.
We've been here before. Nobody been here before.
Yeah, we've been down, but
he was like, hey, man, we've been here before. We're not playing our style of football right now. Let's just go out there, play a little tighter coverage, because he changed the defense. We played a little bit more tighter coverage, man-to-man, pressure the quarterback a little bit more because we needed the ball to come out a little faster. But it was like, man, just get back out there and play our brand of football. So as coach saying that, now we go talk to our defensive back coach. He gave us the whole spiel saying, yeah, we're gonna play man to man, make sure we leverage everything the coach gonna tell you. So I go back before KO called us up. I'm like, man, coach, right? Like, we not playing our best ball, and Kirk can tell you this. We not playing our best ball. And just something came in me and just said, just tell the team all we need is one touchdown, and we're going to come back and win this game. Kid you not. KO calls it up. I stopped coach. I said, hey, man, we ain't playing our best. Literally, just stop coach mid-sentence. I mean, we ain't playing our best ball right now. All we need is one touchdown, and we going to win this game. Kid you not. Coach said, all right. Well, I don't need to sit under your hurdle. Give us one touchdown. And that's when the greatest comeback of in the NFL history occurred, man. It was one of those, because Ryan, you get beat, everybody yelling, cursing out one another. It was like the most chillest moment
Because it's like y'all
in a locker that I've ever been a part of. But it was awesome, bro. I ended up cramping in that game because I had to give everything I had. We was down 33-0. We started playing man-to-man, so I had to cover these receivers all over the yard. And we ended up winning in overtime, man. It was a great game and a game I would never, ever forget.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people are going to forget. I remember watching that game. I don't think I'm going to forget that one either. Hey, so Pat, I'm going to get back to the Steelers. So I just wanted to hear about that, man, because it's like, I got to watch the game, but just to hear what was going through y'all mind, I think that's really important for people to understand. But I'm gonna get back to the Steelers. So you played for the Arizona Cardinals, you played for the Minnesota Vikings. You had two great franchises, two franchises that did a lot of winning. But you also they probably had different schemes and different philosophies. How does your style mesh with Coach Tomlin's philosophy on defense?
Man, it's crazy you say that, Ryan, man. All of my best coaches I've had, far as defensive coaches that I've had in my NFL career, came from the Pittsburgh tree. I had Ray Horton, who was the defensive back coach here when they was on that 3 Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
I turn around now. Who else I end up having? Coach Arians, Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
Who was a part of that, Super Bowl run, came from the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. Now I'm here, so I have to, I'm very familiar with the style of play because when I first came in the league, that's all I knew. We was called, I'll never forget, man, we was called Pittsburgh West at one point.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because we was getting all the Pittsburgh free agents. We was getting all the Pittsburgh coaches. And try to build something what these guys have here now, they wanted to bring and integrate that same type of culture, but obviously that can never be, duplicated again, but I'm very used to it, Ryan. So like I said, now it's finally a blessing to finally be a part of it. Now to see the day in and the day out of work, how they game plan. Because Pittsburgh is always had a top tier defense, and I'm happy to finally be a part of it.
How high? What is the ceiling for this team, man? Because you've been around a lot of great teams. So what is the ceiling for this team?
Man, I really feel like we have everything that we need. Starting with the head coach, starting with the guy that's in charge of us. With Mike T. You've been in meetings room with Coach Tomlin before. He does a great job of outlining what he's looking for, what he expects on the practice field, how he expects us to conduct our business. Doing routine things routinely. That is how you separate yourself from a losing team, from a good team to a great team. You know what I mean? So just being around him, and the way he set things up, it definitely puts it on our minds each and every day we step out there to the practice field. Another thing I love to hear him say is that, we can't warm up to it, which is so true. You can't warm up to it.
Yeah.
You can't walk into a stadium tiptoeing. You have to bring the noise from the get-go. And for him to put that, instill that in us from camp, not even from camp, from training, from spring ball, now having pads on, now being able to put be in a real life football situation because football is played with pads on. This team is so hungry. Man. We got dogs everywhere, man, and just guys want to do their part. That's what I love about this team. We have expectations for ourselves. Nobody else do. But long as we control our narrative, which is being responsible in our assignments, executing in those 2-minute drills, keeping teams out of the end zone on the defensive side of the ball, sustaining drives, having a 4-minute offense, doing all of those things as a collective, I think we're going to be right where we need to be at the end of the year.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited about this team, man, because it's just, living here in Pittsburgh, I actually seen all the pieces that they've been putting in place. and I hear all the outside noise. So I'm really excited to see what y'all guys smoking. So I don't know if you know this, but I listen to All Things Covered. And
yeah, I know. I know you do.
And the one thing I remember you talked about it one time, the first day of training camp, the first day of mini OTAs, you went against Calvin Austin. And nobody told you how fast he was. I want to know. I want to know. Did you get your get back on him so far?
Well, that Calvin boy, that joker fast, boy. He explosive too, man. So I haven't had a real opportunity to go up against. Well, they haven't thrown him a deep ball since that first day of OTA since I've been at.
Yeah.
So no, I have not been able to get any get back. But he is going to be a special talent, a nice switchblade for us, man. He's going to be very, very diverse in his offense a lot. So I can't wait to see those guys cut him loose for sure.
Hey, and I got two more questions for you. So
okay.
So Pat, y'all drafted two young DBs, and Joey and Corey. Like, what have you seen from them so far? That and what do you expect us to see from them?
Hey, you ever watched the movie Avatar?
Yeah.
So you remember the first one when there was, when the army was trying to go over there because they never really saw them in person.
Yeah.
It was like, God, dog, these things are like 10 times our size.
Right.
Man, those boys are some freaking avatars, man. I mean, they're just so gifted. Like, just so gifted, man. And the sky's the limit for both of them. I can't wait to see those guys in some live action because those are two guys that love the game, love competing, and they have the want to. They want to get better. When you see young guys like that have that plate, that appetite for success, you can't do nothing foreign to them. And that's all I'm going to do as long as I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler, as long as those guys are Pittsburgh Steeler. I'm going to continue to give those guys any and every tool that they may need to be successful. But I mean, those guys, they're so long on the outside to where they don't have to be perfect. It's going to be hard for quarterbacks to complete those go balls.
Yeah.
You have to be very, very precise on the route choice that you call for your receiver to go up against those guys because they can, they have the arm reach, arm length of a 7'2" man. So those guys, the sky's the limit for them, man. I just can't wait to see those guys unleash their talents on who we got the first game, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, no, I'm ready. I'm excited just for this whole defense and this whole team. I feel like it's a lot of young talent, and especially with your veteran leadership and the guys that we brought in, it's gonna be nice for the team this year. So so I actually lied. I got two more questions. Man, Pat, you're a great golfer, man. And I'm only good at golfing the video game. So do you got any tips for me in real life? Because I went golfing yesterday and I had a few long drives, bro, but I can't get my game together. I'm not consistent.
Right. Man, you gotta practice. Like you almost have to think of golf as in when you was coming up, like how good you wanted to be at your linebacker position.
Yeah.
So you worked on it day in and day out. It was like moments couldn't go by without you thinking of the game. It's the same way with golf. Yes, golf is extremely hard. It's not the same. It's not the same. I guess the same focus, but it's in a sense it is because you have to still grind if you want to be good at it. So the biggest thing is just literally practice, man. Like you have to practice golf because you can lose your touch around the greens, you can lose your touch on putts. But the game, the part I don't lose very much is like hitting the ball long.
Yeah.
Because that's something that you just don't lose, especially if you have good ball striking ability.
Yeah.
So for the most part, it's just practicing like 110 yards in, because those are shots that you're going to use the most on a golf course, versus you see guys that can't wait to hit the driver, every single, but you only hitting the driver 14 times tops on a golf course.
Yeah, true.
You're gonna use anything from a 7, we'll say from a 7 iron to a 56-degree wedge more often than none. So I will focus on practicing on my iron shots and getting my distance down pat more than anything. But it's gonna come down to practice. Like, you have to practice golf.
All right, cool. Appreciate that. I'm definitely gonna do that. I've been talking to my wife, and I had bought some new clubs. I thought that was gonna help. That ain't help. So
It's not the clubs. It's not. You know how they say it's not the plane. It's the pilot. Yeah, man. It's the guy who got the clubs in his hand.
All right, I got you. So with us being Don't Call It a Comeback, we always trying to, figure out like what a good comeback story. So Pat, we talked a lot about the Steelers, and we did talk about the comeback with the Minnesota Vikings, but what do you think is a good comeback story, or somebody we should talk to moving forward?
I think a great comeback story would probably be Geno Smith. He's a Florida guy. And here's why. You don't see, what Geno's probably like a year 10 now, somewhere in there.
So this would have been my 9th year. So I think, Geno 10 or 11. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you don't see guys be, playing on however many teams he played on, being a backup, and have the year that he had, and also sign the contract that he had, that he ended up signing, that he received. Deservingly so, this past offseason. You just don't see that very often. And Geno, we played against Geno in high school. Yeah. He's always had a rock. Geno was always that prototypical quarterback in high school at 16, 17 years old. So I'm just happy to see that he finally, found a home, man. It seemed like Seattle and Pete love him around there. And I'll never forget the interview that he had. I think it was a Monday night or a Sunday night game or something like that. And the reporter asked him, a lot of people wrote you off, but he said, I ain't right back.
I like that. No, man, he been a dog.
I think Geno Smith, man, would be a great, if you can get him, would be a great guy to get on the pod.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Pat. Yeah, because I remember playing him in high school. He tore us up, man. So he tore us up. So
he had that boy
Stedman Bailey.
Yeah, Stedman Bailey. Ooh, them boys out there dicing us up out there in the rain. You remember it was raining too?
Yeah. No, it's hey, bro. I remember.
He still could be like 5, 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was a dog, man. He was a dog. I remember when he went to West Virginia, and he did the same thing there. So I'm happy to see that, he actually able to, play in a system that fit him, have a team that actually want him, and he doing his thing, man. So, hey, Pat, I just want to say thank you, man. I really appreciate you joining the pod, and we look forward to everything you got going with the Steelers, man. So thank you.
Man, anytime. I want to add one more thing. A lot of people may not know this, but me and Ryan went to high school together.
Yeah.
Me and Ryan was teammates, so it's always be my guy.
Appreciate you, bro. Always been big, bro.
All right, man. You be good, Ryan.
Good stuff there, Shazier, and thank you, Pat Pete, for joining us today. Next up, Bama lost at home for the first time since 2019. What's next for the Tide? Time for some other comeback stories in the news we need to give a look at this week. This is the check down. Shazier and I are going to give each other one comeback story from the news this week. 30 seconds on the clock to break it down. 5-0. You all set?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, let's go. Aaron Rodgers' Achilles tear has left New York in despair, but the Jets still pulled off a Week 1 win over the mighty Bills. Is Gang Green's defense good enough to carry Zach Wilson, Bob Saleh, the rest of them, to a title here, Shazier?
Man, so I think this was a difficult one. And the reason I say that is because I definitely feel that the Jets have a defense that can lead a team to a championship. And to me, this is a top-tier defense. They're one of those defenses that everybody's going to talk about at the end of the season. I think they're just as good as the Eagles were. They're just as good as the 49ers are. But my caveat is, like you said, carry Zach Wilson. So the one thing about the carrying Zach Wilson part is that Zach Wilson just needs to be a guy that doesn't turn the ball over. Like yesterday, he threw a really bad interception, and they still figured out a way to win that game. So if he can make sure that he doesn't make any bad plays like that, this defense can do it, but I just don't think they'll be able to do it this year.
Listen, it's not 1976 anymore. The Pittsburgh Steelers, when Terry Bradshaw got hurt, didn't allow a touchdown for, I think, 3 months or something along those lines. Obviously, with the Mel Blount rule, it's a quarterback league at this point. It's very hard, but there are examples. There are some rays of sunshine out there. Keep in mind, the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2017 were a Miles Jack scoop and score missed call by the officials away from getting to the Super Bowl to play the Eagles. 2015, the no-fly zone Broncos absolutely carried that Denver team to a title. And when was it? 2002 season, Brad Johnson and the Buccaneers offense was hoisted to a Lombardi title by Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, and that crew. So even in this millennium, it is possible, unlikely though it is.
Alabama lost to Texas 34-24, and Jalen Milroe, is he the right guy to lead Bama back to the playoffs this season?
First of all, shout out to producer Hank. Come on, Shazier. That was a big game for him and all Longhorns faithful. My answer is the question is moot, much like the old Saturday Night Live sketch. It doesn't matter if it's Milroe. It could be Tyler Buckner. It could be Ty Simpson. This is not one of Nick Saban's best collections that he's put out there. They are not going to win the SEC this year. They're not going to the Final Four. And I'm sure a lot of people circled November 4th in that annual matchup against LSU. I think by the time we get there, both those teams are going to be out of contention for it. But one of them definitely... I'm sorry, I got my beeper there. Go ahead, Shazier. I got all work.
Yeah, man.
How say you?
You last a little bit longer than you're supposed to, but I'm used to it, So I would say that Jalen's a really good quarterback, but to me, he reminds me of DJ when he was at Clemson. He's a guy that's really good, but I just don't think he's the guy that fits the role that Alabama needs to win a championship, especially this year. So I just don't see that Alabama and Jalen are making it to playoffs this season.
Yeah, well, listen, you know what? Before the beeper goes off on our ear, let me instead say honk honk. We park our cars in the same garage. Not Bama's year this year. LSU's either. We continue to watch. College football belongs to Prime, don't you know, until otherwise notified. And that's it, like you say, for Don't Call It a Comeback this week.
Yeah, so make sure you follow, rate, or review the show wherever you're listening. And I know that he said that this year's college football is for Prime, but Georgia has that title until somebody takes it. And also check us on YouTube on the Wondery channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. See you all next week.
Moment my whole life, can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.